Luxinda Swirl here. I am going to revisit the sealer comparison video that I did before that ended up with a fail at the end because I had a tumbler turner malfunction that caused one of the two tumblers not to keep its epoxy on. All the epoxy dripped off and whatnot. So I couldn't actually do the comparison test. I promised I would come back and do it again. So that's what this video is. This is testing sealers on a glittered tumbler prior to a layer of epoxy resin. And the two sealers I'm testing are Rustoleum 2X Clear versus CCDIY Counterculture DIY Quick Coat Urethane Liquid Sealer. So obviously this one gets sprayed on. This one gets applied as a liquid and allowed to dry. So I'm also approaching this a little differently than most of my videos. I'm not now going to do all these things. I have already done them. I am now going to briefly, I will try and be brief, talk you through this, show you what I did, because I did videotape everything. Then I will show you the results, because I did actually achieve results this time. Nothing failed. Okay, so I had two 20-ounce chubby tumblers. I got these from Maker Flow. I will link to them below. I sanded each one. I washed it with soap and water, and then I sprayed on just a single coat. You can see it's kind of mottled because it's not I didn't do two coats. I did the first coat of a white matte spray paint. Then each tumbler was sprayed with a different color of Rustoleum 2X. I did candy pink on one and French lilac on the other. And this time, as soon as I sprayed on the color, I immediately, while the spray paint was still wet, I immediately doused the wet tumbler in this gorgeous shimmery, iridescent, opalescent Moonstone Chunky Glitter Blend from SOC Glitters. And what this does, because it's whitish and clear-ish, it takes on the color of what it's being poured over, basically. So we ended up with a beautiful pink cup and a beautiful lilac cup. Both of them dried. I took the pink cup out on the deck and I used my Rustoleum 2X Clear spray paint and gave it 2 generous layers of clear spray paint as that cup's sealer. And here's how that looked. Okay, then after I spray painted the other cup with the French lilac, while the paint was still red, I doused it with Moonstone. Then after that dried, I put it on a tumbler turner and I applied a generous coat of CCDIY Quick Coat Urethane Sealer. And here's how that looked. Then I let both of them dry overnight. I put them both on tumbler turners and I applied approximately 20 milliliters of KS liquid stone resin. That is this. Whoop, myself some room here. KS liquid stone epoxy resin. 20 milliliters on each cup. And here's what that looked like for the pink cup. And for the purple cup. Which brings us to where we are now, which is to look at the results of that layer of epoxy resin on our 2 tumblers. Here they are. There you have it, folks. 2 pretty glossy, shiny epoxied tumblers. Now, which one, if either, is better than the other? At the end of the last video, you may recall, the one that I did, the CCDIY quick coat, that was a bust. I couldn't tell you one way or the other because it lost most of its resin and I couldn't make a judgment call. The one I spray painted with the clear, that had a really nice, flat, dry, glossy layer of resin on it. So I considered that to be a success, even though I couldn't tell you what the CCDIY one was like. This time, I seem to be encountering sort of the opposite, namely that this had the Rustoleum 2X clear, that was the sealer, and I don't know if you can see it. Hopefully you can, but this is just riddled with bumps and jags. I mean, it's going to take at least 1 more thick coat and then quite a bit of sanding. Maybe even 2 more thick coats and then some sanding to get to a point where I would have a flat surface I could put a decal on. So I consider this just really not a very good result at all. My question was, I was really looking forward to finding out how this one came out. This is what I did this with. Honestly, I have to tell you that even though it's got some jagged edges, it also has beautifully clear spots where I could indeed right now put a decal. I probably won't, because frankly, the right thing to do here is to put another layer of epoxy on and then sand off the edges, sand off the bottom, sand off any bumps, because there are a few. So basically, this came out in better condition than this did. This will probably need 2 more coats of epoxy before I can sand it and apply a decal. This will need 1 more coat of epoxy, I'm guessing, before I can sand it and apply a decal. There we have it. I hope you learned something from this. Please like, share, subscribe. If you have any questions about this, if you want me to do a different sort of test, if you want me to test it differently somehow, comments below would be very much appreciated. Thank you, everyone. Stay safe. I'll see you in the next video.